Hello, everyone. I'm Anthea Mulakala, and I'm the co-lead of the Asia Foundation's Future Skills Alliance. Today, I want to talk to you about an urgent need, future-proofing skills in the Asia-Pacific region. At the Asia Foundation, we are committed to delivering future skills at scale to underserved communities. We foster collaboration between governments, private companies, and nonprofit organizations, harnessing collective resources to amplify our impact and reach those disproportionately impacted by the digital revolution. One persistent issue we face is the global gender gap in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In the Asia-Pacific region, this lack of gender equity is most apparent in engineering and information technology education, where only 21% and 29% of tertiary graduates are women. To address this, we have created the STEM ConnectHER program. This initiative supports and empowers young women, fostering diversity and inclusion in STEM through mentoring, learning responses, and a peer-to-peer regional community of women in STEM. Here's how we're making a difference. First, we're investing in the future. STEM ConnectHER prepares young women for careers in critical fields, driving innovation and economic growth. Second, we're bridging the gender gap. We're tackling the underrepresentation of women in STEM, creating a more equitable and diverse workforce. Third, we're nurturing talent. We recognize the immense potential of young women in STEM and provide them with the resources and support to succeed. And we're building a pipeline. STEM ConnectHER inspires and motivates young girls to pursue STEM education and careers, ensuring future generations of women leaders. Join us in our mission to empower women in STEM. Together, we can build a more equitable future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Arina Dafir, Community Affairs Manager for Microsoft. We're excited to be part of this important initiative because closing the STEM gender gap is a significant step towards a more equitable society. It is our hope that through this program, we help knock down barriers for young women to thrive in a STEM career through access to mentorship, training, and networking. For young women considering a career in STEM, my advice would be keep an open mind. There are multiple pathways to enter, explore, and be successful in this field.
Hi, my name is Selena Tong, and I work at the Estee Lauder Companies as Vice President and General Manager of the Estee Lauder brand for Travel Retail Asia Pacific. Estee Lauder Companies is one of the world's leading manufacturers and sellers of prestige skincare, makeup, fragrance, and haircare products, and the company's brands include Estee Lauder, La Mer, MAC, Jo Malone London, and Tom Ford, to name a few. I'm so proud to be part of this organization that enables women and men to look and feel their best every day. Our travel retail division at the Estee Lauder Companies has partnered with STEM ConnectHER to support women's empowerment and gender equality, particularly in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. We believe that if we can help to reduce the gender gap in STEM, especially in Asia Pacific, we can help contribute to greater innovation, opportunity, and economic prosperity for all. I think that one of the biggest challenges faced by young women in STEM today is that there are just not enough role models for them to look up to nor get advice from. And without strong support systems or guidance to navigate their careers, especially in male-dominated industries, it can be intimidating and ultimately difficult to stay on in a career in STEM. By participating in the STEM ConnectHER program, I hope that I can play a part in supporting younger women as they start or navigate their careers in STEM. And in turn, I hope that these women will one day become leaders in their fields and themselves inspire younger generations of women to embrace STEM industries, creating a positive cycle of gender diversity in the workplace. As the famous quote goes, our actions create ripples, and those ripples have the power to change the world. So, this International Women's Day, Let's change the world together.
I think we can start as more people log in. I'll just give I'll just welcome you all, and then we can start. Can we have the next slide for now, so I can go over the agenda? All right. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the launch event of the STEM ConnectHER program. We're thrilled to have you join us today as we embark on this exciting journey to empower young women in STEM fields across the Asia Pacific. As you know, the future belongs to innovation, and STEM is at the forefront of the revolution. However, women remain underrepresented in these critical fields, and the STEM ConnectHER program aims to bridge this gap by providing young women with resources, mentorship, and networks that they need to thrive in their careers in STEM. Now, today's webinar is especially exciting as we feature a distinguished panel of senior executives from leading technology companies, Microsoft, Micron, and Cognizant. These remarkable women have navigated their own journeys from the classroom to the boardroom, and they're here with us today to share their valuable insights and advice. I hope this webinar will be a fantastic opportunity for you, whether you're a student or an educator, or simply someone who champions diversity and inclusion in technology. So before we start, I just want to, here's the agenda. We'll be speaking, our panelists will be speaking, and then we'll have a live Q&A. So please, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. And after we've finished with that, my colleague will tell you about upcoming events. And before I hand over to the panelists, I just want to give you a brief overview of the program as to what the STEM Connector includes. So if I could have the next slide, please. So as some of you may know, the STEM Connector program is dedicated to empowering young women, like many of you here today, to pursue and excel in fields of science, technology, and engineering, and math through mentorship, learning resources, and networking opportunities. And we hope to equip you with the skills, knowledge, and confidence that you need to thrive in the rapidly evolving field of technology. And I invite you to learn more about the program by visiting our website, which is stemconnector.org, and registering on our platform. If you come on our platform, you'll be able to access the series of programming that we've listed here. For instance, we have a monthly speaker series like the one that we're having today, where we'll be hosting one each month, where you can hear directly from leading industry experts about professional and tech skills. You can also connect with mentors from leading companies to guide you on your journey. You can ask questions related to even things like how to prepare for an interview, what skills you should be developing. So whatever help or guidance you need as you navigate your careers in STEM, you can access mentors on our platform. You also have the opportunity to network with peers from across the region. As I mentioned, this program is open to women from across Asia Pacific. We have a community chat board where you can connect, ask questions, learn about internships, job opportunities, and just start building your professional network. We also offer workplace tours. You can visit corporate offices and experience what today's workplace looks like. You get a chance to meet with professionals at these organizations and also see what they're working on, and get a feel of what a transition from school to work would look like. We also have a curated library of learning resources that our partner organizations have offered for our participants for free. So do have a look. All these resources are available for free on our platform. And finally, as you go along this program, you can earn badges and certificates to recognize your achievements that you can share with prospective employers and basically help build your CV. Could I have the next slide, please? So the STEM Connector program has been designed and launched by the Asia Foundation. We are a nonprofit international development organization committed to improving lives and increasing opportunities across the Asia Pacific. We have been working in this part of the world for the last almost 70 years. We're headquartered in San Francisco, but we work in 20 countries across the Asia Pacific with 17 permanent offices. And before I hand over to Sandy, I just want to thank all our supporting partners for their generous support and for sharing our commitment in including increasing diversity and inclusion in STEM. So thank you for being here, and over to you, Sandy.
Thank you, Maureen, so much for that wonderful introduction. And hello to everybody that's joining us from across the region. We're delighted to have you for our launch kickoff event, our first webinar in the 2024 STEM Connector series. So thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get underway, I'd like to officially welcome our wonderful panelists today, Richa Ronia, who is Microsoft's Regional Director for Asia Pacific. Welcome, Richa. Cherwee Sim, who is Micron's Vice President of Global Talent Acquisition and Talent Mobility. Hi, Cherwee, lovely to have you here joining us. And Angeline Lin, who is the Engagement Delivery Director for Cognizant. Welcome, Angeline. Thank you to all of you for joining us today, and not just for the work you're doing with us today, but for the work I know all of you do on an ongoing basis to really drive greater gender diversity in STEM. I know it's a passion for all of you, and we're thrilled to have you here to talk a little bit about what you do and how you support that in your roles today. Before we kick off with some of the conversation, I thought I would just put a little context for our discussion today with a few statistics from the World Economic Forum 2023 Global Gender Gap Report, just as some context for some of the discussions we're having to set the scene. We talk about the need for more diversity in STEM, and it's so true, because at the current rate of progress, according to this report, it's going to take 131 years for us to reach full gender parity worldwide with women and men across all dimensions of society. In South Asia, it's 149 years, and in East Asia and the Pacific, it's 189 years. Now, we all know that's just not good enough. So all that we can do to change that is really important. And from a workforce perspective, women make up almost half of the workforce in non-STEM occupations, but in STEM, it's just 29.2%. So there's a lot of upside and a lot of opportunity. And part of the conversation today is to hopefully help you all understand and see those opportunities, because we know that all the good jobs of the future, the evolving jobs of the future, STEM is going to be so important. We want to make sure that we can drive as much gender diversity and equality in that, and as much inclusion as possible. So it seems like a good place to start today to maybe talk about, what are the opportunities, what is happening from an industry perspective? What are you seeing in terms of the emerging jobs and the emerging skills in STEM, particularly for young women today who are studying and thinking about next steps? Maybe if I can start with you, Richa, to talk a little bit about, from Microsoft's perspective, what are the emerging opportunities in the industry and for women in particular?
Yeah, Sandy, thanks so much. I hope I'm clear and audible.
Yes, sound good.
Okay, awesome. So great to be here, and great question. Microsoft is a large organization, and the business we do spans, as all of you all would be familiar with, software. It supports gaming, supports connectivity with teams, as well as now as everyone's looking at the industry at the forefront of technology, which is artificial intelligence. So there are a wide range of opportunities that exist within the technology space. People could think about AI and automation, being cybersecurity experts, cloud architects, engineers, data scientists who are dealing with, data analytics. And for someone like me who doesn't traditionally come from a technology background, even people from real estate, sustainability. So the scope is actually quite wide, and it's really about understanding where your skill sets lie and understanding how you can provide that to the organizations that you're targeting and find suitable opportunities. So I hope that answers the question, Sandy.
That's a great place to kick us off. And I'd like to maybe ask Choe to add, because I know from Micron, you're in the semiconductor industry, a little bit different, although connected with Microsoft. Can you talk maybe about that industry in particular and maybe add on to some of the observations that I'm sure you agree with that Richa had highlighted?
Thank you so much, Sandy. Definitely, when we think about semiconductor, what we continue to recognize the importance of us shifting from so-called academic to a skill-based, hiring to a skill-based organization. And really, when you think about skill-based, is really we take reference to what we call a T shape. There's a technical dimension of the T, and also the horizontal, which is broad-based, the power skill. Definitely, in the semiconductor industry, especially for microns, we have been awarded by the World Economic Forums for being one of the early adopter and also champion and leader in the Industry 4.0, which really focus on automation and AI. So, for example, when we think about the vertical skill, the T skill, the technical skill, what we have learned over the last couple of years, especially with the pandemic, two aspects of it. One is that as semiconductor is an essential industry, we actually continue even with the pandemic. At the same time, we can't travel. So how do we troubleshoot real time when we are all over different part of the world? And that is where the AI, the HoloLens, where regardless of where you are, the accessibility to the challenges, to the problem solving, to the analytics, and to providing the solution literally close the gap. And that is very powerful, because when we think about how do we expand the skill base, it's all about accessibility. Now, the other piece on the technical skill, we are very excited with automations. Back then in Taiwan, we wanted to really challenge this role called equipment engineer. And when we deep dive, why it's not super attractive for women to come in as an equipment engineer. A lot of the gap is really about dealing with really heavy components of the equipment. And that is where the people's organization and the business came forward and designed automated tools that can really remove this part of the barrier and increase access. And we are very proud to say with that we have literally increased the career opportunity of any women who really love working on the mechanical piece of it, are now available, right? So I think that is how we think about the future of work, is how do we truly leverage on the T skill to increase accessibility. And definitely from a power skill, it's all about how you do about your thinking process, your communication skill, your EQ, your interpersonal skill, for example.
Thank you, Choe. That's great. And we're going to get in a little bit more later on too to some of those skills that companies like yours are looking for. Maybe before we do that, Angeline, did you want to add anything in terms of your view from a cognizant perspective? You're working in more of a kind of consulting and implementation role, maybe. Any thoughts around some of the emerging roles that you see for your organization? And also maybe some of the unique attributes that women may bring to some of the roles, like the work that you do.
Okay, yeah, Sandy, good question. Actually, okay, I came from Cognizant. For those who don't know about Cognizant, actually we are a IT service, so-called we call it SI company. SI means service integrator. What does it mean? That means we take different products, we merge them together to produce an end-to-end solution. So it's very technical, it's an implementation. We deliver, we implement softwares, hardwares, applications, anything related to IT. So yes, we have a lot of requirement in terms of different IT technical skills and things like that. But when we look forward, right, actually currently like what actually Richard and the Choe say, automations, Gen AI and AI is definitely the directions. But not to worry, because when some of the ladies, when you're hear about automations, Gen AI, oh, it's very technical because you require certain in-depth knowledge in terms of technical, right? In order for you to know, maybe I cannot catch up and things like that. But actually that's not true, because in the current world, I think everybody know about ChatGPT. I think in fact, many of you may also use ChatGPT for many of your day-to-day works and things like that, right? So it's really in terms of how you ask the right questions in order for you to get the answer that you want. It's no longer in terms of, okay, I need to be very technical in order for me to do certain things, but it's on, we have to think the world from the other perspective. How do I position myself, ask the questions, and to get what I want? Because the same question you ask multiple times, you may get different answers as well, right? So that is the change of the world. That is what we are really requiring, because we need someone actually who can think logically, who always with an open mind to say that I'm willing to learn, and you're there. And for Cognizant, actually, for us, because we are doing a lot of implementations nowadays, we are also looking at a trend whereby people looking at low-code implementation, which means you don't do development. All right, maybe you write in the chat, just say, I want to create a website with 2 buttons, with whatever it is, but it gives you the website already. So you don't really need to do codings. This is so-called a low-code platform, which is actually is also IT, is also STEM, but it's not that difficult that as what you think. So yeah, so that is what I'm looking at, and that's what is upcoming in the future also. Yeah.
Great. Moving fast and changing. There's always there's in this space, right? In STEM, moving fast and changing quickly to keep on top of it. So as we think about what's coming, I'd like to take a moment just to ask each of you to talk a little bit about your own journey, if you like, to get into the leadership roles you now have in STEM, and maybe some of the challenges that you've navigated, as we talked about, particularly for some of you who've been in the industry a long time. Gender diversity hasn't been even as good as it is today. And I think that there's probably a lot that our audience can learn from some of the journeys that you've made, the challenges that you've navigated, or even, as you said, Richard, different backgrounds that you've come from that are not so much traditional entries into this space. So maybe I'll just ask you to talk a little bit about kind of how you got into the role, and any challenges that you navigated that you might like to share with our audience today.
Sure. So Sandy, a great question, and something that I feel really, something that I hold very strongly in my heart. So I grew up in India, and back when I sort of was getting into the industry, and as I sort of alluded to, I've been part of the corporate real estate industry for the last 20 odd years. And really, when I was getting into the construction industry, it was definitely not a place for women. It was male dominated, was unsafe, and you'd face these challenges every day where parents would question you that, are you making the right career choice? Do you want to sit at a construction site all day, and you don't even have the respect of the people who are part of the construction site. So there were a lot of challenges that one faced at a day-to-day level, and I think just sort of going ahead with the attitude that says that I'm no less than my male counterpart, and just moving forward with that. It did take a bit of resilience, I must say, and just knowing and believing in oneself that one is no less. I still remember visiting construction sites where there would be no toilets for women. And making sure that as you move forward and as you move up the chain, you create situations and you empower women down the line to be more successful. So one of the first things that we did as part of the organization that I was back then was to ensure that we had toilets for women across all construction sites. We ensured that we had private taxis drop and pick up women from these sites, so that it wouldn't be unsafe for them to travel in early or late hours. So it's just making sure that you do the little things to ensure that we are all successful as a group. But really at a personal level is to believe in oneself and to continually skill oneself. So if, respect is not demanded, it's earned, right? And it's earned when you're able to demonstrate that you can make a difference and you can create an impact. And if that means that you're working hard, extra hard every day, developing the skills within yourself, things that you find missing, and making a difference to your environment, that it's not long before people look up to you and look at you for guidance and advice. And you start making a place for yourself. So I think that's the approach that sort of I've carried throughout in my career, and starting from where I started to be now being part of an organization which is well within the technology space, not really in real estate, but even organizations like these have multiple roles. And Sandy, perhaps you'll cover that in questions that you ask as well. But when we look at an organization, let's say if we look at Microsoft, you don't necessarily have to be a techie or a tech person to enter the organization. There are several other lateral roles which could be of interest to you within the STEM space. So for someone like me, I do manage the development of their data center infrastructure. So it's really about networking and understanding what are the roles out there and making sure that you find the place for yourself.
That's great advice, and yes, we will come back a little more and talk. I think about some of those skills and attributes to navigate your career. Maybe Chewy, I'll go to you. I know your background is engineering. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how you kind of came to enter the world of semiconductor industry, and a little bit about your background and how you navigated sort of challenges through your early career.
Thanks, Sandy. Yeah, I'm a very hardcore semiconductor, passions about this industry. I started my career in semiconductor, and fast forward almost 3 decades, I'm still in semiconductor. But definitely, what is very transformative for myself, even though I stay in the same industry and literally almost the same company which continue to grow and merger. I do have like 8 different careers in the industry. And as what Sandy have shared earlier on, I'm an engineer by training. I started as a manufacturing equipment engineer, have a chance to rotate to industry engineering and also to finance, in financial planning capacity, and then expanded to the people's organizations in technical training, leadership training, and also the full scope of HR. And over the time, continue to expand regionally, and today have the responsibility for the global people's organization in the area of talent acquisition. So definitely, I make a choice to really grow and start and grow and develop and blossom in this industry. And I must say that when I first started the industry, we have what we call the new college graduates cohort. And I would say out of 100 of them, there's only 5 women. So you can imagine sitting in a room where there's 100, the 5 women, even we sit together, your voice, and sometimes you feel that your view might not necessarily be heard. You have to be very intentional, very deliberate on how you deliver, your point, your ideas across. And definitely, in the very first year being trained in US and Japan for a year, I also learned it's really important on how you chose to show up every day, right? In so-called a male-dominating industry. I definitely made a big mistake back then when I was training in the US. At the same time, how I chose to respond to the mistake by really admitting to a mistake. But I also learned quickly how do we present a preventive and a contingency actions, especially with the machine that we're going to purchase in Singapore for the startup. And through that process itself, I recognize that, a lot of people want you to be successful, regardless of your gender. And therefore, how you believe that you need to harness your fear into the courage, to try, courage to trust, and courage to tell is extremely important. And with the experience I carry in myself, this courage to continue to try, trust, and tell throughout my very diverse career, in many different areas. And of course, very happy to say that today, this 100 is now more than 40 in the semiconductor industry for our new college graduate globally. And I think that is how I have also set a commitment, in my very first year of my career as a women engineer. Regardless of where my career go, I want to be able to see a change in that room. And of course, humbly, I was setting a goal of maybe, 20 to 30, over my career year in semiconductor. But glad to see that we have an extremely passionate organization who prepare around inclusive culture to allow us to this acceleration. I think the other really pivot point for myself is when there's an opportunity to really move from industry engineering to finance, and then finance to leadership training, technical training. At that junction, actually, when I was doing finance, I was like, I have no idea what is finance. But really, it's all up again how you want to show up, leverage on the network, the resources to learn, the skill set, and committed to be a learner every day. People see you, from far, the attitude that you bring to new challenges, the attitude and the courage that you bring to new discovery, and being a learner every day. And the other thing I also learned throughout the career, what is really important is not just the sexy job that's up there, but really go to the core, what make your heart sing. When I was pivoting in finance, I have an opportunity to be given to further my study so that I can really expand my responsibility in that function. But I chose to really listen to my heart and speak out in my career conversations, that what is really passionate to me is working in a team and contribute in a way that we continue to develop my know-how of not hardcore technical, but really the skill out of technical know-how. So I think that part of it, listening to what make your heart sing, is extremely important too, right? Yeah.
Of course, we all need to listen to what makes our heart sing in life. That's great advice. Thank you, Tui. Angeline, maybe talk from your perspective. How did you find your way into the role that you're doing now, and any kind of lessons learned along the way that you would like to share with our audience today who are thinking about their next steps into jobs?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, when I chose the major during the uni time, actually, computer science was not my first choice. I actually chose business. Then I think during then there was a gathering or seminar that actually they group of so-called young women and the students, right, to give them a small assignment to do a game themselves. So I tried it out with a language to do the game. It's a badminton game, something like that. I find it's very fun. Then after that, I was like, maybe this is something that is fun that I should carry forward. That's why I changed from a business into computer science. That's where I started my whole so-called IT journey. Yeah, so definitely as a woman, I would say the IT journey is not that easy, especially when you get married and having kids. Yeah, because before that, I was actually doing an application implementation for a 24/7 system actually throughout until I have the kid. Once I have my kids, then I have to go away for maternity leave, which is about 4 months away. So actually that is where you can see the difference, because you can see actually the organization is very supportive for women who are going to go on maternity leave. It's not like say, hey, why you go maternity leave? How about the work? Things like that. They are very helpful in terms of, okay, since you're going, let's plan it out in terms of transitions and things like that. I think the organization support for women, for us to do the IT is very important as well. I remember actually after I came back from maternity, during then it was the old office. There's no nursing room, so it's actually quite tough for me to actually, because I need the nursing room for me for the operations. Then when they move office during then, right? Actually when they discuss about the design, I do see that they purposely design one room just for women for nursing room, which made me feel very, very heartwarming. Is like, hey, they really think of women as a need for that to move on. With this kind of supports, right, that's why we can move forward. In fact, after I came back from maternity, my boss also discussed with me saying, hey, since you have kids, you may not be able to do 24/7. Do you want to do something else? So that's why we are looking for alternative and options as well. Yeah, so this is something that you feel that you are not fighting alone. It's actually you are fighting with a team. Yeah. And also when I move on to different roles to take care of the whole deliveries, there's a period that because of family, I have to stop for a while. After I stop, right, and when I want to gear up again to look for a job, actually I was quite hesitant. Should I look for the same job, which is still the delivery work, or should I do something different? So during that, I think I have a friend who is doing AI. Come and knock my door. I say, hey, Angeline, we are looking for people doing AI for pre-sales. You want to work with us and try it out? I was like, hey man, I don't know what is AI. Okay, it's not I don't know what is AI. I totally do not know anything about AI besides knowing it's artificial intelligence, right? Because I never done it before. Yeah, I never done a full-time pre-sales before. I say, you really want to try? You see, if you're willing, then we try it out. So I actually considering this role for 2 months because I do not know whether I will fit for the role or not, because I also don't want to set up myself for a failure. But in the end, with my family's support, I was like, why not I bite the bullet and go? Yeah. So I went in. Definitely, there are a lot of things I have to go in and learn in terms of what artificial intelligence, what is computer vision, what can autonomous car working, how does it work, and things like that. Then you will find, wow, okay, if I didn't make this decision, I would never know that actually I could learn so much and it is so interesting, right? So after that, I will say that whatever I learned in that company for that few years is really beneficial me for what is moving forward in terms to understand the trend, understand the AI words and things like that, right? So I will say that do not be afraid of change. Yeah, just open your heart, embrace the change. You may not know the change is really something that eventually will actually accompany you all along throughout. Yeah, that's all from me.
Yeah,
Thank you, Angeline. Yes, please jump in,
Can
Rita.
I add? So a couple of points that Angeline said really struck a chord. I remember when I was expecting my first child, and like I said, I used to go to construction sites, and it wasn't conducive for me to travel. And often you have organizations that are supportive, which was clearly in the case of Angeline. In some cases, if they are not, then you have to be the one to raise your hand and ask. And that's exactly what I did. And I said, look, are there other opportunities for me to consider, within this organization? Because given my personal situation, I may not be able to do this job as well as I would really like to. And the organization, was very open, and I had several opportunities to consider from, and then I did switch. So just wanted to highlight the point that your career can't be a linear graph all the time. There are going to be ups and downs, which is going to be a result of your personal situation. And don't be afraid of the change that comes along with it, and look for opportunities that best fit in those personal circumstances, so that you don't lose out on time, you don't lose out on opportunity. And like Angeline said, you're constantly learning, right? You're developing new skills. So definitely, if the opportunities don't present themselves, ask for them, and make your own sort of path. And I'd really encourage everyone to think like that.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
just
you, Rita, for adding.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, just to add on, I'm definitely very, fortunate that in Micron they embrace this part about flexibility. So I did work 3.5 year part-time when I had very young children, and it's a choice that the organizations empower you. And I know once when I'm ready to come back full-time, they're also very ready to expand your learning, your opportunities. So I totally resonate to Adeline and Rachel that really knowing what is important to you, and also discuss those options in your mind, and you will be pleasantly surprised how much support the company and the community and your are so willing to step forward and help you to be successful too, right?
Yep.
Yes, thanks for commenting on that. And I think one of the threads of all of the things that you're saying is that things have changed a lot from the earlier days, particularly when many of you entered your industry, and organizations have changed in that time, right? So the way in which the organization is able to show flexibility, accommodate the different needs, the different areas of interest for women. I don't know if any of you would like to comment specifically around things that your companies are doing to support women in the workplace. I think you've touched on some of them, but if there's anything else you'd like to share, please do.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come in here, Sandy. And this is not just for women, but Microsoft is an organization that is truly diverse. And anyone who steps inside any of our offices will see that there are people from different backgrounds, different race, different genders, and that's what makes the organization what it is today. So in fact, just before this call, I was part of another call within our team, which is called the Career Experience Program, which gives opportunities to folks within the organization to go try work for 90 days in another vertical. So it's a very structured program where you can, apply for different roles that exist. It's a 90-day program. So you do go back to your job, but then that also gives you exposure into what are the other opportunities out there, what the other teams are doing, and really figure out, what's your calling, and, if there are areas that you want to grow and learn in, then, the organization provides the platform to enable you to do that. So that is one. The second one that I think Microsoft advocates very strongly is the 70-20-10 template or format or rule, where it says that 70% of your learning is done while you're working, right? So you learn 70% of your skills on the job, 20% from your colleagues, and 10% is what you get from a formal training. And that culture itself, shows how diverse the organization is, because you don't need to fit a job description 100%, because the expectation is that you will learn 70% while you're performing the job, and that's how you get better at it. And given where the organization is within the technology space, everything is changing so quickly that no amount of pre-learning will prepare you for what tomorrow looks like. So it's very important that we have the culture of constantly learning and evolving while we are on the job. So some of the things that I think Microsoft does very well, I thought I'll bring to the table.
Thanks so much, Richard. And it also prompts me to, we're going to talk a little bit about skills and learning and kind of lifelong learning. And I wonder, part of that too, Chewy, you might like to comment on this. We talked about it the other day, was sort of the importance of mentoring as well as part of your career journey. And I know you've been very engaged in that. And maybe you want to talk a little bit about how that's helped you and also how you help others through mentoring in the workplace.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely, in Microns, we drive mentoring, or rather we lead mentoring as a movement, right? We know throughout all our career, we does have different mentors that really help us to be able to learn from their experience, and also point out to resources, to opportunity that might not be really visible to yourself. So in Microns, when we think about mentoring as a movement, it's definitely for all, right? It's not particularly just for one versus another group. And for mentoring for all, definitely when we look at the women aspect of it, we target programs such as for the undergraduate, or female students too in the school, global women mentorship programs, where we bring close to about 300 students from all around the world to come together and do and connect with our mentors. And we are really great to see that a percentage of these women that are part of these programs, they speak passionately why STEM, why semiconductor. And by providing the network of mentors, in Microns, really help them to take the courage to explore this industry. The other signatures that we have, is through our Micron Women Leadership Network. Is really about mentorings for, whether in any phases of your career, there is always, meaningful connections to mentors, right? Yeah, and we also recognize that it's just not enough for women to just championing it. We also, over the last couple of years, really step up what we call the male allyships. And this is where we really leverage on the leadership who are in the male to speak up to when these women are not in the room, for example. And beyond that, we also look at sponsorship, by the executive for certain level of our women leaders. And that whole spectrum of how do you engage, from a students to early career to different phases of their career, you literally are advocating that you have a buddy, right? You have a mentor that is going to be there guiding you. But also as a mentor, ourselves, I find that I at times gain more than the mentees, right? Because there's all this, two ways of mentoring. The reverse mentoring is extremely powerful for the mentor too. So really creating the movement, the culture. And just the other piece we also recognize extremely important in Micron as you think about your career is that you must own your career, right? Where, and career is never just about a particular pathway. You have to define a pathway that is meaningful for yourself. So recognize extremely important in Micron as you think about your career is that you must own your career, right? Where, and career is never just about a particular pathway. You have to define a pathway that is meaningful for yourself. So for any our new hire, we actually put them through a very structured, about 4 to 5 months program called I Aspire. We help them to, continue to strengthen, harness their learning skill and building the network and look for mentor. And also, really be able to talk to their leaders, whether, when they change a role or new to a role, their 30, 60, and 90 days plan. And also help them to not just connect. A lot of this learning just don't happen through internally, but also their time spent through volunteering, in whether a Micron Chip Camp Go Tech activity. So we definitely want to approach holistically as we think about mentoring movement for all in Microns, or we want to empower all our team members to own their career through programs like I Aspire.
Thank you, Cherie. And Angeline, I don't know if you wanted to add. I know that both Richard and Cherie have covered a lot of programs that may be similar, but if there are other things at Cognizant that you'd like to highlight around the value of mentoring or other programs that Cognizant offers to support people when they enter the company to be successful.
Definitely, Sandy. Actually, in majority of the I would say, they actually will have this thing called so-called entry program. They call it graduate program, right? So when you come up, you come out from a poly, you come out from a college, you come out from a uni, you enter into the workplace, right? You will realize that actually there's always a gap between what you have learned in uni versus what you need to apply into at the workplace, right? Then some people may be afraid in terms of, hey, I don't know what is upcoming, I don't know what is required, whether I'm suitable or whether I'm fit for the role or not, things like that. So I mean, this is common, this is normal, everybody has it. That's why for Cognizant, we do have this program, we call it Fresh Grad Program, which is about a 3-month program, tailor-made for every single onboarding fresh grads, right? To get them equipped with the necessary skills, get them equipped with the necessary soft skills as well, right? That required at the workplace. Because sometimes I can tell y'all, it's not the technical skills that is very hard. It's actually the soft skills that actually makes a lot of difference when you are at the workplace. Yeah. So this is the portion actually we will have people coaching you, guiding you along the way. And also when you are on the job, we call it on the job learning after the 3 months of the training, so that they will have a one-to-one feedbacks and coaching along the way to ensure that you are comfortable and you know what you are doing into the project along the way. So this one will actually, to a certain extent, it will actually help you to really eliminate certain fear from individual so-called fresh grads, right? Before they enter into the so-called the workplace. So I find this is a very good program, so that at least everybody goes in, they know, oh, okay, I'm not going in blindly, I will be coaching and guided along the way, so that, yeah, give them certain confidence as well on this portion. Yeah.
Thanks, Angeline. That's great. And I can already see some chat questions coming in about those very things. How do I take this next step? How do I enter into my first role in a company like Cognizant? We are coming up to the end of our discussion. I wanted to just move maybe to a little bit of a conversation around this sort of transitioning into work. I wonder if each of you could talk a little bit about what are those attributes that you look for when you are hiring new talent into your organization. I think you've already all talked about the need to have both this balance of technical and soft skills. And Cherie's talked about skills-based hiring. I think you've all talked a lot around some of the skills piece, but maybe you could just give a few minutes view as to, you know, what are those really important attributes when you look at hiring talent into your organization? Maybe Richard, you want to kick us off, or?
Yep, sure. So Sandy, like I said earlier, right, as an organization, we enable you to learn on the job. So, you know, there is from a technical evaluation standpoint, depending on what the role is, you know, that's separate. But, you know, what I would typically look for anyone who's interviewing for a role is, you know, your attitude, you know, what you bring to the table, and how you've demonstrated in your career that you have the attitude to be accountable and be responsible for what you've done, and you know, the work that you'll do, and also to have a growth mindset. Because like I said, you know, the way we are working today is changing so and evolving so rapidly. It's not just about what you know, but what you're willing to know, and what you're willing to learn. So those are the two skills that I would really look for, you know, in anyone who's applying for any role.
Great advice. Great advice. Anyone else want to add to Rich's overview? I'm sure you will agree with that, but anything else additional you'd like to add?
I'll say I agree with Rachel. Yeah, in terms of that, actually passion about the work as well as communication. Actually, technical portion, I would say, is something that we can brush up along later, right? It's not, it's rocket science or whatever it is, but it's actually the communication and the passion that you have to carry out during the talk. When I actually trying to bring someone on board, that is the focus I'm looking at. Because if you are not very passionate into certain roles, eventually you may just leave, right? So we will want to grow with you. We want to actually work with you to actually plan your career path, plan your growth. So we need to have the same vision. We need to have the same view in terms of, okay, you're very passionate, for example, about a tester role. Let's work and plan out your journey together. So that is very important. And apart from that, I think there are many roles in IT which does not really require very specific technology, so-called backgrounds. For example, there are business analyst role, okay, which is actually have to work very closely with different clients, different users to gather certain requirement and document it down and things like that. It sounds simple, but actually there are methodologies, there are things over there. It's also not so straightforward, right? So when we interview people, we all tell the people that which are the roles that you're interested, let's talk about it. So that not necessarily must be a very technical role. There are non-technical role in IT as well, in order for you to build your career in the IT world as well.
Yes, that's a really important point. And before I go to you, Cherie, I wanted to maybe just put a quote out there that I'd love you to respond to as we kind of wrap up this conversation. There's a statistic that's been out there for a little while through some research that say men apply for a job when they meet only 60% of the qualifications, but women apply only if they meet 100% of the qualifications. And, you know, this I think is probably true of all of our experiences, but I'd love you to comment on that in regard to, you know, how we can support women as you're thinking about applying for that internship program, that graduate program. You know, how can we encourage women to have that confidence to apply, even if maybe they don't feel they have all of everything that checks the box? And maybe you could talk a little bit to that.
Sure, Sandy. Yeah, when I think about a quote like that, and when we say that men, 60% they will apply, I felt what is they are demonstrating is the 40%. They are speaking loud and clear. I don't have the other 40%, but I can learn. I have the confidence to learn it. All right. And therefore, I don't need to show up with 100% readiness. I think for women, we are definitely very humble. We set a lot of expectation on ourselves, but also remember when you have to, be 100% ready, you are also indirectly, showing up as, well, I'm not sure whether I can learn. All right. So it's really important to come forward. How do you demonstrate whether is it learning in a new field, whether you are learning a new challenges, you are taking out a career transitions, a career switch, is how do you demonstrate and evidence about learning, right? I think today, this opportunity are everywhere. There's so many bite-sized resources they are available. And I know there are companies who hire a psychological graduate because these individual women have demonstrated learning all the Googles, the AWS, bite-sized, show up for a solution engineer's role, and they are given the opportunity. So again, it's really how you want to continue to invest in your learning, and you must be able to also share that evidence on how you build that skill set, right? So I wish a very good luck to everyone. At the end of the day, it's about you as a learner, the growth mindset, and you can be given an opportunity to blossom too.
Thank you, Chewy. That is a great way to end that comment and that question. It's really great advice. And I notice we probably need to take a few minutes for some chat before we hand over to the end of the session for our Purva to talk to us about what's coming next with STEM ConnectHER. But I see a few questions that have come in while we've been chatting. And I think actually we've answered some of the questions that are there around kind of what you look for in the interview process, what you're looking for in hiring people. I think some of you have also talked about some of the programs that you have available for students and for fresh graduates. I know there's some questions in there around that and a variety of things related to how to kind of enter into the workplace. So is there anything sort of in final comment that you hadn't talked about that you'd maybe like to highlight? Because I think a lot of the questions are really around the same things. How do I go from as a student right now and take those next steps into a company like yours? What are the different avenues perhaps that I have to explore? So if there's anything else maybe you'd like to add to that as part of the Q&A, that would be great.
Yeah, I can add. So for anyone who's looking at internships, within Microsoft, please visit our careers page. And you will see a list of opportunities that are available as internships. Do apply for that. They have a few criteria. As long as you meet that criteria, this is open for students and students graduating. So do take a look at that, and you'll find several opportunities of your choice that are on offer.
Yeah, I will also just expand that. I think for microns or even the broadly semiconductor, definitely when we think about internship, besides so-called the timing that lined up with the school, we're also expanding summer interns, very short periods of internship where allow the students and the educator to come in and know more about the industry. So I like to encourage students, don't just confine to your internship period, but continue to engage the company, so-called the regular periods, which we are really happy to be able to accommodate that, including summer intern. And I saw a questions about educator. One of the things that we're expanding our focus from a talent pipeline is really also partnering with educators, professors into inside of the industry, because when they go back and bring the industry back to the classroom, it's really powerful to help and inspire more students to look at STEM career opportunity, so that the 1 in the 3 will be translatable, not just in the study, but 1 is to 3 also in the career, right? Yeah.
Yes, and also thanks to our partnership with all of you as well. Looking at some of the questions there, we have internships, job opportunities, and mentors that companies like yours are able to provide. We're also making available through the STEM ConnectHER program. So for those of you that are interested in reaching out and finding mentors within companies like Microsoft, Micron, and Cognizant, mentors from all these companies are also on our platform. So that's a really easy way that you can step up and get connected as you're still exploring your kind of next steps with the career. Angeline, before I didn't want to leave you out, if you had any additional comments that you want to make around the questions here around sort of next steps and programs into companies like Cognizant.
For Cognizant, actually, we have different graduate programs across different countries. I think different country we tailor-made for different needs as well. Yeah, because I'm studying in Singapore. That's why for Singapore, actually, we have a different program. Be we checking with the LinkedIn, be we checking with the so-called the website from the Cognizant, you are able to find more details. And on top of that, for unis and polys, if not wrong, we actually also go we also go down for certain recruitment drive and things like that. Do watch out for that as well. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great advice. We are at the end of our time. The conversation went by so quickly, I didn't realize we've been talking for 40 minutes or so, but I do want to just extend my sincere thanks to you all, Richard, Choe, Angeline, I think for your participation today and the great advice and insights you've provided, I hope has been valuable to everybody. It's certainly been a very interesting conversation with all of us. So thank you again for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody listening, a round of applause. Thank you to our panelists today for a wonderful session. To close us out today, I'd like to hand over to my colleague Apurva, who's going to talk a little bit about what's coming next with STEM ConnectHER and how you can get engaged with the program. Thanks, Apurva.
Thank you, Sandy. I would like to run through the many opportunities we have awaiting for you all. So as my colleague Marine informed, the webinar, and next in line, we have a webinar under the Cisco Women Rock IT series on April 25th. Then we have a session on cybersecurity in May. In June, we have a session by Amazon Web Series and a webinar by Micron in July. The details of each session and the registration link would soon be up on our platform. We also organize industry site visits with the support from our corporate partners in countries including Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, Japan, and India. These site visits are planned in a way to give the students an exposure to the working environment in the corporates and meet and interact with the professionals. We have one upcoming for Singapore in April with AWS. To support capacity building and skills development, we have many industry certified self-learning courses available on the platform. And lastly, the most exciting of all, we have professionals and experts in varying skills and areas awaiting to support and guide you in your professional journey through mentorship. You can go for one-on-one mentoring option with an expert of your choice and or go to a group mentoring session with your fellow peers. Kunal, can we have the next slide? Thank you. So just to give you a flavor of what awaits you, you can see the few mentors that we already have on the platform and their area of expertise. I'll encourage all the female students in STEM to go and register if you haven't already. You can find the link in the chat box as well. With this, I would like to close the session by firstly thanking all of you who joined us today for this insightful session from different parts of the world. Thank you to our esteemed panelists, Richa, Sher, Angeline, for such an insightful session, and thanks to Sandy for moderating. Big thanks to all our corporate partners for their continued support. Thanks to all our university partners in different countries. And lastly, thank you to our platform partner, the entire Text team, for making this a seamless process. To all the STEM students we have, your contributions are invaluable and your potential is limitless. I encourage you to continue seeking out the opportunities for growth, mentorship, and collaboration. And together we can create a more empowering, inclusive, and equitable future for all the STEM fields. Looking forward to seeing you all again very soon in our next webinar. Have a good rest of the day, everyone.